Hello, Mzansi. Welcome to it once again as Hollywoodbets brings you GameON. I am Caesar Mapena, proud to be in the company of Jace Kosana as well as Shane McGregor, and we'll have a special, or rather important interview later on with regards to the dangers of gambling. But for now, let's talk football and what's been happening out in England with Shane. And my, oh my, Shane, is it not interesting times ahead of the busy December period? Firstly, let's start off with Brighton and the season they've had so far. They raised more eyebrows, coming back from behind to beat City with a 2-1 scoreline. City now are sitting in a situation where Pep Guardiola's got his worst run of his career, losing 4 matches in a row. A lot of noise being made about this. What did you make of that match?
Yeah, you know, it was a good match. Not for me, though. But anyway, it was a good match.
You had it as a draw, yeah?
Yeah, I had it as a draw. But, you know, City were all over the place in the second half. You know, they looked like they weren't a team. Even Pep didn't know what to do. You know, he was making changes, bringing players in. What I didn't like about him is he went straight up to the Brighton defender afterwards and had words with him because he had been marking Haaland very closely.
Yeah.
To me, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
That's, you know, it's not on. It's football. That's the way where the game goes. You know, you've got to take the good with the bad. But they're all over the place at the moment. Going back to one thing, and I told you this weeks ago, Rodri, being out, it makes such a huge difference. And also he's had a good few players out injured. You know, he's had a couple out that have just come back in. So it makes a big difference.
Interesting when you look at City's record of late, and what struck me was how often they've gone into the lead and lost the match at the end of it all. What do you make of that? The fact that they firstly can't hold a lead, and secondly, they're conceding quite a lot in recent times, since the start of the season, actually.
They concede a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Once again, we go back to that same old story of Rodri. You know, I'm making it as a one-player team, but it's not. He makes so much difference in that position that he covers for the defence. He holds everything up there. He gets the tackles in before they get to the defence. So he's the cover for them. I know it sounds mad because he's playing in front of them, but he does that. And he does it so well. He wins all the tackles, knocks the balls around, and he makes a huge difference. And it's showing now.
Yeah. Now, Liverpool, they at home host Aston Villa and come up with yet another impressive results against what's seen as a tough opponent, especially by you and I in Aston Villa. But they're continuing to impress and are beginning to now get a bit of breathing room between themselves and the chasing pack.
Yeah, that's
5 points to be exact.
Yeah, that means nothing. You know, there's still a long way to go. They've still got December coming. But what I do like about Liverpool at the moment is they're playing similar to the way Klopp played, but they're playing a little bit more aggressively, and they're going forward a little bit more aggressively, knocking the ball forward earlier instead of keeping it. So they're looking a little bit stronger that way. And also, what's been good is that when one player has not been doing well and scoring goals, one of the other players have been stepping in, and that's vital. So you need that. The break comes at a very bad time for them because they got their heads up high. They want to just keep on going. When you're winning games like that, you want the games to be played every second, third day, you know. So for them, it's come at a bad time. But they are attacking well and getting the results.
You speak of their attack. I mean, 21 goals, just 1 goal behind City, 22, they've scored the most in their campaign so far. But not enough maybe being said about the Liverpool defence. They've only conceded 6 goals this season. The closest to them is Nottingham Forest with 10 goals conceded.
Yeah, you see, that's the difference. Yeah. You know, when you're not conceding goals, it makes it easier to win games. You can win the 1-0s, the 2-0s, you know, getting the odd goal in. Defensively, they've been good. Van Dijk has been excellent. You know, touch wood, I hope he doesn't get injured. He's been excellent for them, and they've got the other players coming in. You know, there are talks of certain players leaving, but it always happens. You know, at the end of contract, Van Dijk might be out of a new contract, or might be out.
Salah as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
Big three.
That doesn't matter. At the moment, they're just going out and playing and enjoying it.
Now, I have to go to another huge game, arguably the game of the weekend, going into the weekend last weekend. Chelsea against Arsenal, Chelsea at home, London derby. Odegaard back, gets the assist for Arsenal, but still, Arsenal now, I think they've played their last 4 or 5, a handful of games away from home, and the results aren't quite there away from home. Seems to be where their struggles are.
They're just struggling altogether, even at home. You know, it's one of those things where they've also, once again, a lot of players been sent off, a lot of players missing games, and that makes a big difference. You know, when you don't have the big squads of, you know, extra players coming in, it makes a big difference, especially in vital positions. So they've lost a few, the centre-backs, the centre midfielder. Rice was out, suspended, so was Saliba. So it makes a big difference. And, you know, continuity, you need that. And at the moment, they don't have it. once they get on a roll again, it'll be a different Arsenal.
The need for a serious goal scorer at Arsenal, how big is it? Because someone looking at Havertz and saying, is he the man to bang in, 20 goals a season, which you need to compete?
Yeah, it's catching up with them now. You know, that they don't have a proven out-and-out striker. You look at most teams, they got that. And Arsenal don't have it. They play with a false nine. And look, he's getting a few goals, but he should be scoring a lot more. For me, I think it's actually catching up with them that they don't have that out-and-out striker. They need to go out and find one.
It's interesting now when you look at Liverpool City, both of them on 28 and 23 points, and then the chasing pack behind them, Chelsea, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest and Brighton, all of them on 19 points. Have to ask you about Nottingham Forest. Where did they come from? What's the story behind there?
You know, there's quite a story into this. You know, my ex-brother-in-law supports them, and he was worried last year they're going to get relegated. And I said they appointed the right coach at the right time. He is a brilliant coach. He really is. You know that Edu has gone from Arsenal to Newcastle, so the technical director. So it's a whole lot of things that are coming, working in plan, and are starting to get into place. You're going to have to watch out for this Newcastle side. Many years ago, they won Europe. They were brilliant in the English league. It's getting there again. So we're going to have to watch out for them. Why would they bring Edu in there? Obviously, he's a man that knows his job. And since he's left Arsenal, I'm not saying it's that, but there has been the
results are,
all of a sudden, they're going well, you know, Forest. So it's a team to watch out for the rest of the season.
Interesting, you mentioned Newcastle. They have the beating of Nottingham Forest with a 3-1 scoreline. I speak of them because, well, Newcastle are also 1 point behind that chasing pack I speak of. So they're thereabouts going towards December. But Nottingham Forest, the big surprise here, Chelsea amongst the top 3 as things stand out in England. It's exciting times indeed before we get into December. So we say thank you to Shane, and I look forward to discussing what's happening in the Carling knockout with Jerry Skosana on the other side of this.
Wanna bet?
You are on.
Breaking news. Gogo takes a Brian's challenge to a penalty shootout.
Aziz again.
Let's go.
Brian looks confident here. What? He's completely missed it. Here comes Gogo. And what a kick! She's done it! She's done the impossible! Hollywoodbets, Azisheke, let's play.
Welcome back to Game On, and well, it's exciting times in as far as the Carling knockout with the semi-finals having taken place, and the big name, of course, that's lasted right from the opening round up until the final is Makesi. They've booked their place in the final, of course, to face Mamelodi Sundowns, but they faced Richards Bay, and we get into that with Jerry Skosana. Jerry, we spoke about this game last week, spoke about Richards Bay and their struggles. Of course, 2 goals scored in the league and the cup so far this season, which is a big problem for them. And that was a huge problem against Makesi. They weren't able to score. Makesi walking away 1-0 winners.
Yeah, thanks, Caesar. I think we did discuss that, but I was so confident that Makesi would go through because of things that are happening. And yeah, give credit to Makesi. I mean, for me, they are a formidable side, honestly speaking. I mean, if you always look at the team that just comes in the PSL from the championship and they're doing so well, getting into the final in their first ever cup in that division. I mean, for me, you need to give a whole credit to Clinton Larson and his technical team, but also the players, you know, the commitment. And also, if you look at the reject of some of the teams in Chipezeze, wow, you know, what an acrobatic goalkeeper he is with Makesi. And yeah, I mean, that's something which we can always talk about. Good showing.
You speak of players like Chipezeze. There's a few others in the squad that have experience, a lot of experience under their belts. I wonder when they're all coming in with years and years of experience, some of them even international experience.
I think the advantage which Makesi has is because of Clinton Larson. I mean, he has worked with a lot of players. He knows most of the players that he has roped in Makesi. But for me, the most important one that I always look and say he's the one that is causing problems and to opposition, but giving Makesi a whole lot of attack. Wonder boy.
Yeah.
You know, that player for me, if I had to be maybe an agent, I'll be starting to move closer to him and starting to get a team for him, because really what he's bringing into the game is just so magnificent. I mean, he's a quality striker for me, even though he's not scoring, but he's causing havoc and creating for his teammates to take advantage of that.
For a team like it is just paying now, good international break, where they can stop Mhlambe and look into themselves, the problem yet. Finding the back of the net. Is this break coming at the right time? Is this loss maybe a chance for them to focus on the league going into December? Into his teeth.
But let's look at when they had to survive a relegation promotion playoff with, I think it was Vilagazi, coach then, and then now comes Truta. So sometimes you need consistency, you need something where you've seen this is the problem with the team, it survived, if going forward this is what I need to do. But if the same coach that saved them having those problems, because even in their relegation promotion, they didn't score a lot of goals. It's only that they are content in terms of giving goals away. They don't. You know, they are good in that on that side. But for me, with Truta, that's the area which he should have looked at in terms of attacking. You look at guys like Barnes, who left to Stellenbosch. He was their player that was coming with a whole lot of goals for them. So I think they still have to go back and look at what is it best that they can do in terms of looking for strikers.
Playing in semi-final, of course, Mamelodi Sundowns against Kalans at home. Sundowns may be seen as the favourites going into this game. One of the most talked about players in South Africa right now, Ribeiro Lape Sundowns. Scores the first, Miami scores the second. Kalans, found the going tough, Viplom.
Yeah, they find the going tough, but I can give credit to them. I mean, they stood the ground, they were firm. For me, they were playing good football. It's
as always.
Maybe they didn't take advantage of that. But you come to Sundowns, I've said it. Which Sundowns are you going to play against? Because Sundowns can come with any team, anytime, different teams. But let's give credit to what is happening now. For me, I was looking at the technical team. All the chaos and havoc that was happening before, there is calmness now. The only person that you will see standing up, it's Manqoba Mngeti. Force would be seated. Steve Kompela would also be seated. Not too much instructions. I think it's something which they've put into rest in terms of differences that they had, and it escalates to the players. Maybe when players like Bomokwena not playing because of the problem with the technical team, I think that might have been solved. But for me, I think a smooth sailing Sundowns in terms of the technical team's behavior, and that rubs to the players' shoulders.
For Emarumo Kalans, there was a point this season when we were talking about the age of the players. He's mixed it up a bit now. There's not so many that are over 30 in the standard lineup as season the project. Yeah,
but we don't have to look at it only go Cullen Cup, you know. For them to power out, let's hope they will take that into the league, you know, because sometimes you've got players that can give it all to a cup game because they look different with the league. The league, sometimes a player would say, I've got a little bit of an injury, I've got a knock, I will play next week, we're playing a league, we still have to play a long term. That's where they falter. So I think the age-wise for them, it's still not good for me because they still need a lot of youngsters that can learn from these older guys to take the team forward. So I think that's the only part which Tens needs to look at, roping in young players to learn from the old players that he's got.
That's one side of the fence looking forward. Another side of the fence, Mamelodi Sundowns looking forward. They've made the final now, but busy man. Champions League, you'll figure, and it only gets worse as the year goes on for them. It's a busy year. So, but early, mix a squad and try and rotate the squad. It's beginning to look like it's working for Mamelodi Sundowns. Is it fair to say it's looking like it's working the rotation system in Sundowns?
It is. It is. I mean, if Joban Klili Jerry Skosana, I was a Sundowns player now, maybe 40 or 50 of us in that camp, I would be excited because there is a lot of program and all the players need to get a run. So that's why I'm saying Sundowns is like what they are doing now. Every player that is there is giving it like the best that he can, you know, because there are opportunities. There is a program that is enough for Sundowns in terms of the playing personnel. So for me, I think it's something good for them to have the big squad, but also obviously it's the Champions League, it's like the Cup in the final, it's the PSL League. So yeah, for me, it's going to be something which is healthy in terms of the players.
Well, exciting times indeed. We take our hats off to both Sundowns as well as Makesi. We also congratulate Richards Bay and Maroon McGallants for having gotten this far. Jerry stays with us going into the next segment, including an interesting interview. So stay with Game On. Welcome back to Game On. And well, there's been an interesting development in South Africa of late, which has sparked quite an interesting debate, if you will. Ribeiro, out at Mamelodi Sundowns, is doing so well, and he was asked, it has to be announced, it was asked at a press conference. He didn't come out to announce this himself, but he was asked if he would consider playing for South Africa, to which he answered yes. And that's very kind of him, of course, and it sparked the debate, Guti. For us as South Africans, players like Sirinho, Ribeiro, that don't necessarily play for the national teams and are doing well here in our league, after, let's say, Sirinho's been here more than 5 years now, he's a South African citizen as well, he holds a South African passport, should we consider adopting those players to play for Bafana Bafana?
Well, for me, Sizwe, I wouldn't agree on that one, honestly speaking, because we are a country that must nurture our own talent. We always talk about our own style of play in South Africa. So for me, yes, you've got a player like Ribeiro who's a quality, for Sundowns. But if I look back and say, if he's quality from his birth country to come to South Africa, why don't his country take him back to play for the national team in their country? So now if he comes to us, which means he's a surplus to minus in his country, but we want to utilize him. If we're going to play against his country, he's nothing. So for me, I don't think there would be that much contribution because it will temper with his a performance in terms of the upstairs, as a player. So if for me, I'm a South African, I will give it my best. Because ngisukela South Africa ngaya eZimbabwe ngadlalela one of the big teams in Zimbabwe. Now I'm a player that scored a lot of goals in Zimbabwe, but South Africa don't know anything about me. So, I mean, for me, it doesn't make sense. If he was a quality player, he should have been first preference to his country, and then he says, no, I can't play for my country because I'm already in South Africa for 5 years.
Are you then arguing for Tina, South Africans' first preference should always be to developing South African youngsters? Exactly.
Yes, he's a good talent, but now I'm looking back to his, from his native country. Bayotini bona. Is he a quality? Why did they have to miss him out? Now he comes to South Africa, he's the best player. We want to rope him into our fold as a country. Where our generation? We start talking about Sifunu Glali Polala Semzansi. Now we're bringing overseas. So I don't know, but that's my problem as a South African.
What about those that argue, Guti, in the past, nations like Tunisia, I remember around 2006, I think they had 1 or 2 Brazilians in the national team at the 06 AFCON. But if Tunisia has done it, maybe Nati, we can consider it. What do you think of those that argue that?
No, I don't think for me we can do that because it has never happened before. It has never happened before. So it's going to be something that will spark a lot of debate and chaos in South Africa. So for me, yes, he's from Sundowns. He's a quality player. I mean, we've seen even the penalty that he took. For me, that shows his quality. But honestly speaking, Guti, I la Bafana Bafana. Me not know to go to Ribeiro. Then I can just go for Wonder Boy Makubu. I can go for Wonder Boy Makubu because for me, he can have the quality that Ribeiro can have. But yeah, because Sundowns is giving him the edge. But Ubutazozalawu country for me now. A pick now.
So, no doubt his quality, Ribeiro, and no doubt he adds value to Mamelodi Sundowns. But there's some, like Guti, that feel there are many South Africans, Wonderboy for one, many others, Bomaswangani, that could still be developed to playing for the national team in a similar type of position as Ribeiro. Stay with us, a rather important interview coming up shortly. time now to move on to the part of the show we promised you a little bit earlier on, where we are having not just a special interview, but I think a rather important interview brought to us by Hollywoodbets. Joining me now, I have the pleasure of introducing Lebohang Seoheng, the Advocacy, Communications and Prevention Manager of the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation. Lebohang, thank you so much for your time. Firstly, I guess the name, South African Responsible Gambling Foundation, breaks it down, but I'd like you to take it a step further and just tell us and tell the viewers what it is you guys do exactly.
So the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation provides free treatment and counseling to those that are impacted directly or indirectly by issues of problem gambling. A lot of South Africans are unaware that excessive gambling could lead to a gambling addiction.
Yes.
And it is a mental health condition that needs to be treated if you find yourself gambling a little bit more excessively than you should be. So our purpose is to provide that support through treatment and counseling with our social workers, psychologists and psychiatrists to be able to provide punters out there and South Africans out there equipment and knowledge and tools of how to minimize the potential harmful effects of excessive gambling.
As the Advocacy, Communication and Prevention Manager, what does your job entail?
Sure, our job entails obviously advocating for responsible gambling. It also involves a lot of advocacy work that we need to do with the operators and the regulators in the gambling and the betting space. But it's also to then educate the public about the potential harmful effects that do come with excessive gambling, but also to let them know that free treatment and counseling is available should they find themselves over that particular band when they find themselves, kind of delving too much in issues of gambling.
I see. So by operators, you mean institutions such as Hollywoodbets. And then speaking of Hollywoodbets, just like you to break down your relationship with them and what it is they have to do and what it is they do in trying to be responsible to their own customers, so to speak.
So yes, operators like Hollywoodbets are licensed in South Africa, so they are able to offer their offering legally in South Africa within the confines of the National Gambling Act. And one of those things is to contribute to the 0.1%, which enables us to do the work that we do in terms of treating and counseling their punters.
So they're obliged to the 0.1%?
Yes, they are obliged to do it as a license condition that they have. And over and above that, institutions like Hollywoodbets, for example, have really gone above and beyond what the license condition requires them to do. So they've kind of contributed towards us doing our advocacy work in terms of schools, Taking Risk Wisely Schools program, as well as added an additional 5 counselors onto our counseling line, which operates 24/7. So they've really gone beyond, above and beyond the call of duty and license conditions. So yeah, we definitely do appreciate that type of initiative coming from licensed operators in South Africa.
What do you find is the biggest challenge for those that are in that space of betting? I mean, it starts off as a fun, I guess, exercise where you can make a bit of money, but also it's fun to guess which games are going to turn out a certain way and to be right or wrong in that regard. But what are the major challenges? Where does it get out of hand?
I think it gets out of hand when one is more preoccupied with it. Again, it's a game of chance. It can go either way. And also kind of spending what you are able to afford to bet with. I mean, if you're going to kind of use your entire salary to bet and the team that you're betting against is loses or wins, it's a wager, it's a chance. So I think it's all about the intention of why you're betting and gambling. Yes, it's to win, but if you're trying to gamble or bet for an additional income stream, that becomes problematic because then you invest everything in there. And it's a win-lose kind of 50-50 scenario.
How addictive is winning?
It is addictive. It really is addictive. I mean, it goes through the brain chemical system. We all know that when you're doing something that makes you feel good, your dopamine hormones are released. And therefore, you always want to be reaching that high. But when it comes to betting and gambling, there are financial responsibilities that one needs to be very cautious about, and it's a risk as well. Yeah.
Well, Lebohang, we'd like to thank you so much for your time in educating our viewers, of course, on the dangers. And long may your work last, and you're doing well for the community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, there you have it. That is Lebohang Seoheng, Advocacy, Communications and Prevention Manager for SARGF. And so comes at the end of yet another exciting episode of Game On. We hope you at home have enjoyed it. Thank you so much, of course, to Lebogang Siyeng from the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation, including Hollywoodbets, for bringing us that interview. We'd also like to thank Shane McGregor as well as Jerry Skosana, and from myself, Caesar Mapena, and the rest of the team behind the scenes. Click, click, bang.